International diplomacy kicks into high gear as the first day of high-level debates begin at the UN General Assembly. Well, leaders of about 140 countries are set to deliver remarks, including US President Joe Biden, as well as Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And this will be his first in-person appearance at the United Nations since Russia's invasion of Ukraine started. Well, ahead of his speech, he has highlighted the importance that Kyiv's messages are heard by their partners. Observers expect the Ukrainian leader to reiterate calls for fresh backing, and not just from existing allies, but also from many countries in Asia, Africa and Latin America, many of whom have yet to condemn Russia's invasion. For more, Will Denslow joins us live now from New York. Will, the Ukraine war set to be high on today's agenda. What should we be looking out for in Mr. Zelensky's speech?
I think a real challenge for President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is this fight against ongoing war fatigue. As far as the international community is concerned, we can really expect him, when he's addressing members of the international community at the General Assembly Hall, to make that pitch, to really reassert the atrocities committed by Russia over the past 18 months or so, to try and galvanise the international community, continue to either support Ukraine or to try and win over some allies. We can expect this messaging not just in this public speech to world leaders, but also behind closed doors and in some bilateral conversations be taking place here in New York. Zelenskyy, of course, will be heading to the nation's capital here in the US, to Washington, D.C. a little later this week to try and win over lawmakers and make that case for why they should continue to send huge amounts of funding and arms to Ukraine going forward, especially considering the sticky nature of its counteroffensive. The principles of the UN will also very much be in focus. We can expect that to be a key topic when the UN Security Council convenes on Wednesday. It's a potential showdown between the president of Ukraine and Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, potentially meeting in the same room together. Another key topic we can expect from President Zelenskyy during his address to the international community is that the war in Ukraine does have a global impact, especially things like food prices after the collapse of the Ukraine grain deal. So we can really look for signs of how Ukraine is trying to make this pitch to nations around the world as to why they should continue to support Kyiv.
Right, as Mr. Zelenskyy makes his case, how likely are we to see unity on the outcome of this assembly, especially with most of the Security Council's permanent members absent?
It's certainly significant, and some analysts I've been speaking to say perhaps this is a case of summit fatigue. We've recently had the BRICS summit in South Africa. Of course, we've just had the G20 in India as well. But considering the fact, as you rightly mentioned, that just one of the P5 are going to be here in New York in person, that is essentially the host nation, the United States, it is quite telling. Rishi Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister from the UK to not make the trip to New York in a decade. Emmanuel Macron of France instead deciding to prep for the visit of the British monarch, King Charles, imminently to Paris. And really the fact that Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, can't come to the US because of the ICC arrest warrant just shows the fractious nature of the international community at the moment. However, we have heard from UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who has downplayed the fact that a number of prominent world leaders will not be making this trip to the high-level week here at the United Nations, saying it doesn't matter who will be giving these addresses in New York. What matters is the pledges that will be made this week. However, that really does beg a big question, though. If nations are coming with major pledges, surely world leaders would want to be here to bask in that acclaim. Of course, that will very much be wait to see as this high-level week plays out.
A good point there. Thanks very much. Will Denslow reporting to us live from New York.